It's yet another week of La Cocina Podcast. Come on in, come on in. Why are you so quiet today?
I'm just waiting.
What are you waiting for? Your energy's supposed to arrive now.
Right now?
Right now.
Come on in.
There we
La
go.
Cocina Podcast.
Thank you. You see, that sounds so much better. So much better. Hello. How are you? We are La Cocina Podcast. As always, I am your girl, Danny Ray, joined by my beautiful co-host,
Adri, la gordita linda.
That's right. And we are here today to discuss so many different topics. This week has just been bonkers. Know what I mean?
Nah, I do know what you mean.
But why do you have this sleepy-eyed look to you, girl?
You know why?
Why?
Because we didn't tell him we was back popping. Yay!
So much
there we
better.
go. Yeah.
You know,
my energy level's here now.
I'm telling you, that's what we need is the people going. Okay. So we are La Cocina Podcast, and if you're joining us for the first time,
we are two Latina friends who talk trending topics, interview inspirational people, except for today.
That's right.
And we share our thoughts with love,
Humor.
no judgments.
Not at all.
Nope.
Especially not now.
Especially not today.
You want to know why?
Why?
Because we have a lot to discuss in terms of mental health. So before we get into all of the topics for today, there are two things that we have to go over that are very important. One, yesterday, March 2nd, was our very dear friend Katana J's birthday. As some of you may remember, Katana J was the original co-host of La Cocina Podcast. So on behalf of us, we would like to extend to her a very happy belated birthday. We love you and we wish you well. Secondly, today's show is not going to be like other shows. I feel inclined to let you guys know that. Today is going to be different because today we're going to be tackling things that are definitely more personal, more intimate. We don't have a guest for this reason because we kind of wanted to make it more about us and about you, believe it or not, because we did have you guys in mind during this episode. So that being said, if you have small children or children usually accompany you when you're watching the show, today may not be a good idea for that, only because of the nature and the maturity of the topics. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
Okay. So without any further ado, let's indulge in what we have going on for today. So I'm going to bring up the topics, okay?
Let's bring up the topics
That's
for
right.
today.
Let's do it. Woo, super close up. How you doing?
Hey, girl.
So today's topics are the Momo Scare.
You didn't even have to adjust yourself.
I know.
OMG.
I'm finally getting it. Finally. All right. So the Momo Scare, something that really I didn't find too funny. I mean, I know social media has been having a frenzy with this, with all the different memes that are out there, but I think that this is something that we do actually need to address in a more serious manner. Mental health stigma. Again, we said this is going to be a very stealthy? No. Yeah? Is that the right word?
No.
Hefty? Heavy? It's going to be a heavy mental health awareness kind of show.
Yeah.
Go with it, okay? A conversation about boundaries. Last week we covered the story of Jordan Woods and the Kardashian controversy scandal. This week we want to re-explore that topic, but with a little bit more insight and a little bit more perspective and how boundaries tie into that story. So, and lastly, we want to do a Florida recap because we did leave. As we mentioned to y'all, we went for a 2-day getaway, and it was to Florida to go and surprise some members of our immediate family whom we have not seen in a while, as well as catch up with some real good eats, right, Adri?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, girl. So that's what we have going on for today. And without further ado, let's get right into it.
Right into it.
So the Momo Challenge.
The Momo Challenge.
This for me was disturbing. I didn't like it. One, because the image is scary. We've chosen not to let you guys see that because we want to spare you that. But long story short, it's basically a character, correct?
Yes.
That was created in Japan, whom hackers have now manipulated its likeness to put out messages that would influence a child or influence anybody watching, or trying to influence anybody of younger age watching, to do horrific acts such as committing acts of violence on either the family members or self-harm or suicidal attempts. And it's disturbing, and there's been a lot of back and forth as to whether or not this is a real thing or it's a hoax or it's this or it's that. And no matter what, I still feel that there is importance on the subject matter and for it to be addressed in a responsible way.
Yes.
Okay? So, Adri, give me your side. Give me your take on this Momo Scare.
Would you like the
regular? Well, you know what? Give me your Let's give the research version, and then you can give me your insight, your personal.
All right. So, based on what we've seen, or based on what we have been able to gather from what has been put out there, is that in the middle of these Peppa Pig YouTube videos, and Roblox, I think, is another one. These are just videos. I mean, my kids watch these kind of videos all the time, like videos of other children playing the video games.
Right.
And in the middle of this image just kind of comes up and threatens these children. It didn't start that way. It started
on WhatsApp.
On WhatsApp, right. And this character would be the icon, like the profile icon, and would contact people, children, and, you know, tell them to do certain things, and, like, you know, go turn on the stove and while nobody's watching or whatever. And it just so happened that this parent caught her child, 8-year-old child, with a sharp object to his neck. And this is why it gained so much popularity in the recent days. But it is not something that just came up like a week ago when we're finding out.
And it's funny you should say that, because I remember this actually being a topic back in the summer of 2018. I believe it was July when we first started receiving insight about how WhatsApp was being used by this Momo challenge.
Yes, and the thing with the Momo challenge is there's a lot of kind of the number of deaths or the number of self-harm surrounding this situation is unclear. But I do feel like there are a lot of underlying issues that need to be addressed.
Yes.
So, one, your information is susceptible. All right. We got to think about how easily this monster that just pops up in the middle of a show or on WhatsApp can bypass a security designed to protect your children.
Right.
If you're doing it through if it's coming up through YouTube on WhatsApp, I mean, kids younger and younger nowadays having cell phones. And honestly, they need to understand the concept of stranger danger a little better if they're going to have phones. But, you know, besides that. So, you know, your information is now they're able to gather that information by your child. Your child is easily manipulated into doing something that is so serious, like self-harm. Imagine how easily they can be like, go into your mother's purse and get your, you know, information, the wallet, or whatever the case is. So that is, you know, if a child is going to feel threatened, or afraid for their family, they're going to give the stranger whatever information they need.
Yeah, that's true. And one thing that, you know, a lot of people were saying, and for the record, I'm not a parent, therefore my rather I would say I'm not one to judge. I can't put myself in the position of the parent if that's not where I am. But what I can say is that I think we've reached a point where we now are becoming more concerned with what our children are seeing and how they're interacting with others online and what they're doing while they're interacting online. And these are conversations that do need to be had. So I don't particularly get upset at these moments where we have these cultural phenomenons or these supposed urban legends of the internet, because this kind of keeps us on track, I believe, you know, and it helps to remind us that our connections are so important interpersonally, not just on social media or not just on any type of newer technology. You get what I mean by that?
I do, and I completely agree. And, you know, like we had said before, it's not so much just Momo, but there have been other things that have been going into like what our kids are watching on social media. You have, you know, adults coming on in the middle of a Roblox. I say Roblox because it seems to be the most popular. The videos that I've seen do involve Roblox, where an adult will pop up in the middle of the scene and just show your child how to successfully commit suicide, and not for nothing, but mental health is at a decline right now, especially in youth.
Yeah.
And you can get these statistics, online very easily. Mental health in youth is at a decline. Children younger and younger are starting to, feel the effects of, anxiety and depression and things like that.
And the one thing that we do also want to point out is just, how impressionable children are. I mean, you can be the best parent on planet Earth by your own definition, and you could feel that you have open dialogue and open conversations with your children and still feel like an outsider in certain perspectives and certain aspects of their life. And when you have children who are so impressionable, for example, like for us growing up, I don't know about you, but I used to get anxiety if I didn't share that chain letter to 7 other people because something bad might actually happen to me at night.
Right.
And I don't mean to make light of it, but it goes to show you that if we were in that mindset even then, to be like, oh my God, we have to send this because, oh my God,
hurry up and share it.
Now it's become such another level of manipulation and such another level of tactics in terms of getting messages out there, and it's become so aggressive that it's like, how do we have these conversations with our children? So Adri, as the mother of the panel, I have to ask you, how do you deal with these things on a personal front when you know that it can affect your children?
To be honest, I even before this was a problem, I'm very aware of what my children are being fed through the media. All right, we do have time limits. We are aware of what they're watching. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I am one of those parents. I'm not like holier than thou. I tell my kids, go watch a movie real quick because I have to cook or something, and I have a 3-year-old that's attached to the hip, and sometimes I just need that moment where she's watching Moana and singing along for me to do what I gotta do.
Right.
That being said, there is a flip side. Are you guys ready for
the flip side?
The flip side, the unpopular opinion by Adri.
Unpopular opinion by Adri. Yes. Go ahead.
We have to stop letting YouTube raise your children.
Maybe in español.
Por favor, deja de dejar que YouTube críe a sus niños.
Okay.
I'm just saying, no, seriously, like, don't just... Your kids do not have good judgment. Little children, no matter how well of a job you've done or you believe you've done in raising them. I've heard my daughter, after me telling her, don't use YouTube, go only on Netflix, pick a movie that the baby can watch. And I've heard her while I'm walking down the stairs whispering loudly, because they don't know how to whisper to each other, let's just put YouTube. Mom won't know. We'll change it if we hear her coming up the stairs. They try to be sneaky. They don't always have good judgment. And it's just a part of kids growing up and pushing their boundaries. And that's just the way it is. That being said, you got to kind of have if you're allowing your children to have phones at such a young age, that's something you should be weary of. Yeah, so just kind of being aware of what your children are watching on YouTube, understanding that it's not just those videos of people inserting themselves in there. There are grown adults who make videos for children for their entertainment. Watch what things are being said, the verbiage that they're using, things that you might not allow in your home that these adults are using in their videos. Also, I've seen plenty of videos of children who just kind of talk and do reviews on certain things.
Right.
But they're so snappy. They have certain attitudes that I don't allow in my house either. And so it's just kind of those things that we have to be aware of.
Poquito carifreca.
Carifreca, yeah, exactly. Sinvergüenza. We don't want sinvergüencería in our house. That's a Puerto Rican word, and if you don't know what it is, don't look it up because you won't find it.
Okay. You get the hood translations here.
Yeah.
The real ones. The real culture translations. Go ahead. So, going forward, what are some things that we can do to prevent our children from being affected by such hoax and urban legends and myths of the internet that are looking to...
I have conversations with my children. I let them know. If you see something that doesn't make any sense, tell me right away. It's going to happen. Sometimes it just kind of slips under the radar. That's fine. Tell me. They're very aware also. Like, we watch a lot of fantasy movies in our house.
Right.
They understand the concept of this is real and this is not real. And so I'm easily able to have these conversations with them. You know, like, children are not too young to understand. Believe me, if they can go turn on an Xbox, look through the apps, find Netflix, search for a movie at 6 or 7 years old, they can understand. Yeah, seriously, because I don't know.
What does the alter lead connect? What does this do?
You know, so if they're capable of that, they're capable of understanding what's okay and what's not okay for them to see.
Right.
So just be open with your children, have conversations with what they could possibly come across, and maybe do things that don't require the TV every once in a while.
Or the YouTube, or the tablet,
or the
phone.
tablet, or the phone. There you go.
Because life happens outside of technology.
I agree.
Believe it or not, you know? So, all right, next topic. Mental health stigma. And this is a biggie. This is a biggie because here's where we get personal. Let's get to know each other a bit, shall we? Have a seat. Let's sit down and have a chat.
Get comfy.
Yeah. Let's talk about March 1st was Self-Injury Awareness Day. That's a biggie. So this day began globally recognized in 2010, and it is celebrated by many to help remove the stigma attached to self-injury and to encourage parents, educators, and medical professionals on how to recognize the signs of self-harm. And self-harm itself is not a suicidal act, but rather a physical way of coping with emotional pain. And there is a difference. So, however, if the underlying reason for self-harm is not addressed, it could lead to suicidal behavior. And maybe you can let them know where this is most prevalent.
These behaviors, you will see them most in teenagers and young adults. Often those who have poor coping skills or have difficulty managing emotions. So, you know, and there's ways to recognize those behaviors too, even if you don't see very clearly. Like if you notice that someone is regularly wearing long sleeves, even in warmer climates, you know, if you recognize that someone is not handling their emotions properly, either with outbursts or shutting themselves off completely, this could be a concern. It's like we said, it's not necessarily intended to end their life, but more just kind of the feel of, it kind of numbs them sort of from the emotional pain that they're feeling.
Right.
And so, you know, we do want to just kind of put that out there that, you know, this was celebrated March 1st. There are organizations that are very easy to remember, to write love on her arms. It's something that they do also.
Right.
To celebrate this day. They'll like write the word love on their arms. They will wear an orange ribbon, things like that, just to kind of bring awareness to that.
So I'm curious because I'm trying to put up the phone number here for Nami. There's an extra. Oh, that's correct though, right?
950.
Yep. Okay.
950.
We're gonna put this up for you guys too because no, that's okay. We're gonna put this up for you guys as well. So for starters, NAMI, which is the National Alliance of Medical. I'm sorry.
I thought I had it.
You know, I'm
right.
bad with acronyms. I'm horrible with acronyms.
I know.
It really is so bad.
Where is it?
I can't. I just can't. How did we not?
I don't know.
Really? This
Yes.
is what, yeah.
Just a little bit. This is what's happening today.
It's just, listen, let me tell you something. We're expecting another 8 inches of snow on the additional 3 we already have received. I think between the snow and the cold, we're done here. We're like brain frozen.
NAMI is the National Alliance on Mental Illness.
Mental illness.
There we go.
There it is. So the National Alliance of Mental Illness, NAMI, which is www.nami.org, as well as their phone number, which is 1-800-950-6264. Okay?
Yes.
So if there's anybody out there who is needing someone to speak to to talk to about anything that's going on, especially in regards to suicidal thoughts, please don't hesitate to reach out. And we're also always available. We do use our DMs. We do use our private messages. Feel free to reach out. That's what we're here for. We're not experts on any topic in regards to mental health, but we live it. Yeah.
And that's one of the things, since we're speaking about mental health stigma, that's one of the things that we really kind of want to put out here is that we're sort of owning our own personal situations in order to shed light not only on the subject, but be able to show everyone that, you're not alone in this situation.
Right.
Way too many people suffer from some type of mental health condition. To be more accurate, we're looking at almost 44 million adults that are suffering from some type of mental health condition.
That's a lot.
The number of youth is at a continuous rise, and 1 in 5 adults, which is basically 9 million, still report that they have an unmet need.
Wow.
Okay, so this is a very real subject. These are things that are, that need to be spoken about.
So let's get into then, aside from, and I know we're going to bring them up, Selena Gomez and Manny Manuel, 2 people in the industry as of right now who have had a history of dealing with mental health issues. 2 different individuals from 2 different sides of the spectrum who have handled their situations very differently.
Yes.
Selena Gomez, I believe we can say, and this is not to say, we're not comparing and contrasting in terms of, we're not making this personal. We're not saying this one handled it more than this one, but we're kind of bringing their stories to kind of compare in the sense so that you guys can understand what is a healthy way of dealing with mental health issues and being proactive about them versus avoidance and kind of not dealing with things head on.
Or individually managing without seeking professional help.
Correct. So Selena Gomez, if we want to get into that briefly, she has been dealing with various issues, even physical ailing diseases, right? Lupus is not...
Lupus.
It was one of them. We already know she had a kidney transplant.
Right.
So there's been a lot of things on that spectrum that have contributed as well to her mental health. So let's speak a little bit about her and how she's been handling things as of late, because you actually brought this to my attention.
I did, because it was it was like a breath of fresh air to kind of see where she had come, where she is now, in relation to where she was a few episodes ago. We actually spoke about her having gone to a mental health facility and seeking, professional help for just kind of being in a mind state where she couldn't handle everything that was kind of happening at the same time.
Right.
And we did have our own private opinions on why she went to go seek help. Specifically, we also spoke about how physical conditions can sometimes contribute to, mental health a little bit. And after she had the whole breakup with Weekend, makeup with Justin, and then Justin ended up marrying off someone else.
Right.
That whole situation, she ended up seeking medical help. A whole bunch of, people were kind of commenting on, why she went to go get help, and it's because of, she had a breakdown and Justin Bieber this and blah, blah, blah. And she went out to say, no, that's not it. Sometimes things can be overwhelming.
Right. And they can.
That is her way of attacking it head on, was to seek medical help. And I am glad that she did, because she just came out with a song.
That's right.
Recently.
We had the cover art for it. I did have the cover art for it. Just keep talking. I'm going to find the cover art for it.
Okay.
Here it is.
She came out with a song with J Balvin.
Yes.
I Can't Get Enough.
That's right.
Okay. And
so cute. Look at him.
I loved it. I thought it was something that you could definitely dance to. I thought that it was such a good comeback. This is the first song that she has put out since she had gotten, since she had sought that medical attention. And so, it was good to see that, this was a healthy way of her doing it. She did what she had to do, and she came back with a vengeance,
That's right. So let's get into Manny Manuel, because I'm not familiar with him very much, but I know that you are, and shout outs to Mama Joy, because who's your mama?
Mama Joy.
Who gave us the idea for this topic. So go ahead, take it away with Manny Manuel.
So Manny Manuel was in Spain, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
And he was supposed to do a show there.
Yes,
okay?
he's a Latin artist.
He is a Latin artist.
Mm-hmm.
He's Puerto Rican.
Mm-hmm.
He's Puerto Rican. He's a Puerto Rican artist. I believe he does merengue. Mm-hmm. And the situation here was that he didn't have a manager. He just kind of had a friend that was helping him along, kind of do his shows and all that stuff. And he wasn't either properly managing his anxiety. So he was taking medication for anxiety.
Right.
And it just so happened that before this show, he started getting a panic attack and overdid it with the anxiety medication. So he went on stage and it was very, very obvious. He was, kind of slurring. He couldn't get through his, he couldn't even start practically.
Really?
Yeah, like there were a lot of people recording saying, I can't believe this guy came on here. He was drunk and this and that. Nobody was aware of what was going on, behind closed doors.
Right.
And what ended up happening was that they had to take him off stage. And, now, recently, I believe 2 days ago, they just came out, WAPA TV just announced that he is in a mental health facility in Spain.
Wow.
And it's just, it's a little disheartening to see that there's so much stigma around being able to speak about mental health, being able to speak about the care that you should be receiving, or the feelings that you're feeling, that, it even reaches there, people that are in the industry, people that are well known, and they still don't feel like they can openly talk about what they're struggling with, you know?
Well, I can't say that I blame them, because bringing it forward and kind of getting personal, I too have felt, especially with these past few months and weeks that have gone by, my own state of mental health kind of declining, and it's funny because at this time it was like, yes, my grandmother passed and that was that, and my brother then thereafter, and then it was losing my job, and then it was finishing college. So it was like, oh, okay, there's that, and you try to take away the positives from your day-to-day, and one thing that I've been learning to do now with my friend Zoe is she tells me, name 3 positive things that have happened to you today. And that within itself has kind of helped me to change my perspective and to change my outlook on things, because I believe that when we have these moments of anxiety and panic, it's easy for us to fall into that and never remember anything else. Anxiety and panic and fear as a way of blindsiding us in such a way that nothing else positive, nothing else that can affirm us out of that situation is present any longer. And it's a very dangerous place in your mind to be. I refer to them as the darkest corners of my mind. And people think that because we have a show and because we sit here every Sunday and we smile and we laugh and we giggle, that there's not a life that goes on outside, and there is. And I began to discover that that life that happened outside of all of these screens was catching up with me. And when I realized that, it took a long moment of self-reflection and understanding that perhaps maybe I'm not as good as I said I am. Perhaps I'm not as okay as I claim to be when someone asks how I'm doing. And that's a heavy realization for one to come to on their own, is saying, you know what? I may not be as good as I'm saying. I may not feel as well as I claim. And it took a lot. And I want to thank, some of the people who have been in my corner since day one. Adriana, my co-host, who insisted that we take this trip to Florida. Though it was only for 48 hours, it was a mental getaway that was so needed. And it was almost, without it, I could say, I would not have the clarity that I do now and the understanding of where exactly I was and the strength and the courage to admit that on a public platform, especially my own. I want to thank my friend and my manager, Zoe, who has been up with me at 2 and 3 in the morning when I do have these anxiety and panic attacks. And I think that what people fail to realize is that when you're building a dream or when you're doing something that you're passionate about and you become so attached, it's very difficult to turn that off. When you're an entrepreneur, you're working for yourself, not by yourself sometimes, but for yourself 24/7, worrying about when's the next check coming in, when's the next, view coming in, how is the feedback, what's the success rate, what's the retention rate of the show, what's this, what's that. And I was literally driving myself sick. I was not eating, I was not sleeping. I believe there was a point, even during our trip, I stood awake for 38 hours because my brain would just not allow me to let things go and let myself be myself. I didn't know what that meant anymore. So I don't want to get too involved because you know how that can get. But I do want people to know and to understand that we are with you and you are with us. We see what you guys post when we look, and we also know that you see what we post. And we're here and we understand. And when we speak on these things, yes, sometimes we're funny. And yes, sometimes we joke about things that maybe shouldn't be joked about, But that's our way of coping. And whatever your way of coping is, we hope that you continue to discover that and embrace that, because that's what's going to help us to move forward.
I agree.
What do you think? What's your take on this?
Honestly,
that was a lot.
I don't think I can top that.
That was, and I don't mean to sound preachy. I just want people to understand. Hang on, I'm gonna put myself here so that way. I just want people to understand that this is where you can follow me, by the way. I just want people to understand that, we're real people and we have real issues. And these issues that we bring to the table is because we're trying to decipher and to decode this life and this universal language of love that everybody else is. And we're not perfect. And we don't have it perfected. But the reason for creating this platform was to bridge that gap between today's topics and what goes on with the world, and how we as consumers of the media and consumers of the entertainment industry maneuver and continue to progress as individuals despite all the things that are around us that are going on. Mm-hmm. And it's important that we continue to have these conversations. Agree?
Yes.
Absolutely. Well, you don't have to agree with me if you don't, though.
No,
I'm just saying, don't agree with me to agree. But yeah, I
do agree, and I think that this is a very good way also to segue into our next topic, just kind of talking about the things that we allow ourselves to be fed, the things we allow in our lives, and how we're bridging the gap between what we see and what is real. Because what we see, that is what we see that is taught to us to be reality is not reality.
Absolutely.
This is reality. What you deal with, what you face every day.
Messy hair, not great makeup, sweats of all kinds. The only reason why my hair is not tied is because Zoe said, no, we can't, and we like the lion mane, or else it would be wrapped up. I'm telling you. She always feels like I throw her under the bus. That's okay. But I just, this week felt like coming to you like this because this is the authentic weekend. This is as authentic as it gets.
I think so.
It really does.
I think so. And in doing, here's a few of the ways that you can kind of fight and counteract this mental health stigma.
Please help us.
As we are talking openly about it,
yes,
other people, I feel like you should also feel comfortable or try to put yourself in a place where you can comfortably be open about your mental health and how it affects you. Because you have no idea how much another person can benefit from that.
That's right.
Be conscious of your language use. I can't, especially in the Hispanic community, esa persona es bipolar. Bipolar is a word that is used to describe everyone who has a mood swing. That's not what it is, my people.
O tú estás depressed. Ay, bendito, pero ¿qué te pasa? ¿Por qué tú estás tanto depressed? What happened? There's not that much going on in your life for you to be that depressed. How would you know?
Exactly.
How would you know?
So language use is a big deal, you know? Showing compassion and understanding to other people with mental illness. So I'll give a great example.
Talk about it.
I have a slight bit of OCD for certain things. Okay? To the
This
point.
is new to me.
First of all,
It's new to me. No, I'm just kidding. This is what we mean. Don't joke. That's not funny. Go ahead.
Listen, no, it's okay. It's okay because I'm allowing it here, right here. I have a slight OCD, and I also have to be understanding of when other people struggle with either anxiety or, I mean, sometimes I do know what it is to be surrounded by a person who has anxious tendencies. And sometimes anxious tendencies mean that you leave things unfinished because you need to just step away for a moment. And as a person that struggles with OCD, being around a person that leaves things undone, can you see how that may or may not pose a problem? But being understanding, I don't mean you.
But I feel like it's me.
I'm not saying
I'm going to accept responsibility anyway. I'm not saying you're shady, but if you were a tree, you'd cover a lot of ground. No,
Hashtag Danny Ray. No, seriously, understanding, being compassionate, understanding that other people struggle with things and you kind of just have to embrace it and work around it.
Yeah.
Learn how to cope with that. Being empowered. This is our truth.
Yeah.
Own your truth. All right. Don't allow other people to influence how you feel about yourself. And this is a very, very important one because it's very easy to have outside influences and to have people whispering in your ear and to say, well, this person isn't going to like it. This person isn't going to agree with it. Oh, well, it's your truth. You own it. And that's it.
And just to add to that really quickly, because yes, there are people in your life who are now going to accept that or accept who you are as an individual. And it's even more so hurtful and hard when it comes from family. And I say this to speak on behalf of the people of color, our minorities. We also have to be very, very sensitive to one another and how we say things. You know, culturally, some things seem acceptable, but they're not. And we have to understand that line. Where to draw the line.
That's right.
Where is the line drawn? And that is the basis of where we're at with this. You know, this is our way of trying to explain to you all where to draw the line. Boundaries. Definition of boundaries is just what we will take versus what is not acceptable. You know? So let's get into that. The boundaries conversation, because we prefaced it and then we went away from it. So let's go back.
Yes. So I think the perfect example of how we can talk a little bit about the boundaries that we allow in our lives and the boundaries that people may or may not cross unknowingly is the situation with Miss Jordan Woods. And
she went on the Red Table Talk with Jada Pinkett Smith.
Yes. Longtime family friend.
Longtime family friend. We didn't know Jordan's father was actually the sound engineer for the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. So I've tuned into Jada's show quite a few times because I believe that she's just amazing and I think her show is awesome. And I was very interested to see what Jordan would have to say, because even then, there was just so much speculation. Oh, she was drunk. Oh, she blacked out. Oh, she made out. Oh, she did this. Oh, she did that. And it was just like, reminded me of a lot of what we dealt with the Jussie Smollett case. There was just so much information that we didn't know what was real and we didn't know what was, untrue.
Exactly.
So when she stepped on to the Red Table Talk, and I watched the entire episode, we watched it together, I was amazed by not only the history of these families, but also how she conducted herself. I think she did very well. I think that, we make light of certain things, but I believe there was a lot of truth to what was said. And the basis of that, and what a lot of Jada Pinkett was trying to get at with this interview with Jordan Woods, is that sometimes the black woman is the one who falls victim to all the responsibility of what went wrong. Now, we don't want to dive into all of those details because that's not the point. The point herein lies is that she admitted to one very, very important fact.
Lay it out for them.
Which was that she had no business being where she was. Yep. And that was pivotal. It was pivotal because, number one, not many young 20-year-olds sometimes enjoy, and we can say this because this is true, enjoy taking responsibility for their actions sometimes. So for that, I give her a lot of credit to say, you know what? I should not have been there, and that was my first mistake. Right?
Absolutely. And that's kind of where, to tie it back into our conversation, there was a boundary that might have not been verbally clear according to the relationship that she had with
Chloe,
the families involved. But internally, she knew that there was a boundary. And in retrospect, she saw that she crossed that line.
Right.
Right. And it's not only affecting her, but it's affecting everybody involved.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
So we went to you guys and asked some of you guys on our Insta story what some of your boundaries were for your most closest and personal intimate relationships. So I know that you took screenshots of them. Let's hear a few. We'll keep them anonymous because we know that you don't do it for that. You do it just to share your thoughts and ideas. So
absolutely. And I do want to thank everyone who did give me some amazing feedback because there was a lot of perspectives that I hadn't even thought about. So a lot of people said, don't boundaries in my personal relationships.
Right.
Don't sit too close to my man was the specific wording.
Very well.
Here's right. Relationships should be off limits. I feel like that's a given. There's a lot of things here that sound like common sense,
but may not be.
Let me have my personal space when I need it. And I think this is very important.
Yeah.
Just to kind of, I don't want to piggyback off of every single one because I want to get through them. But this particular one I think is very important because I feel like in my own situation, I cannot call every single family member that doesn't live around me in every single free time that I have.
Right.
Sometimes I need my free time for myself.
That's right.
Sometimes I need to just kind of think and if I'm having a bad day, I don't want to talk to anyone and project that on anyone.
That's right.
So a lot of times I will ignore a phone call or I'll just be like, you know what, now it's not the right time. Let me call you back.
Right.
So I think that without taking offense, there has to be a line or there has to be a clear understanding that sometimes I need some space and it's not personal.
Right.
Absolutely. Bring me food. That is it's a very clear boundary.
Bring me food?
Bring me food.
Somebody wrote bring me food.
Bring me food. Bring me
enough.
food and I'll bring you food. Hey. No, don't lie to me unless you're going to surprise me.
Okay.
I thought this was very interesting because I'm like, what if you don't want to hurt that person? Would you still not lie to them?
What if you just don't like surprises?
What if you don't like surprises? Well, I don't know. This person said, be real or be out. And I think that was the realest thing. It's been real. Jordan Woods.
That's it.
So, never mix business with pleasure. Hey. Cell phones are
perspective.
Cell phones are off limits. I don't check yours and you don't check mine. So trust is a very, very, very big must. A big boundary for this person. Like, I'm not going to invade your stuff. You don't invade mine. There has to be a trust there. You need to respect my rules and decisions without questioning me all the time. Personal time has to be given to both parties without question. If political and religious views don't align, those conversations have to be off limits. You don't want to mess up a relationship over something you don't agree with. Just don't talk about it.
Yeah, exactly.
And this one person gave me a really good feedback. A boundary that she is trying to set in her interpersonal relationships. Only 10 minutes of venting and then looking on the bright side. So a lot of people will be your friend because they need someone to vent to.
Lay their crap on.
Yeah. But then it's like, what other, what else does our relationship fall on?
Right.
Because what if you're having a great day? Are you not going to call me? Are you not going to celebrate with me? Am I only here to hear you vent? And I thought that was a very good point.
That is a good point.
And then another person, actually 2 different people, interestingly enough, said, I don't have boundaries. My boundaries should be common sense. You don't walk in through my house unless you knock, right?
Well, here's where I am inclined to disagree. I did not have very many boundaries set up for myself. And I didn't have very many boundaries set up for the people around me, or at least in a constructive way where there was communication. I, too, made the assumption that because I handle things like X, Y, and Z, that person A, B, and C will handle things like X, Y, and Z. No, that's a lot of letters, but just keep up. So my point being is that not everybody has the same heart as you. Not everybody has the same boundaries that you have. Not everybody is aware of those boundaries or that boundaries are of use at all, because there are very many big differences that come into play. Cultural differences, gender differences, whole bunch of them.
All the differences.
Political differences, religious differences. There's a lot of differences. So therefore, we have to have at least one common denominator, which is respect. And with that respect comes these boundaries. And we have to identify them, and we have to embrace them for what they are.
And not for nothing, part of the reason, so my mom and I didn't, without getting too much into my way deep personal, deepest corners of my mind, deepest, darkest corners of my mind.
Right.
My mom and I didn't always have the healthiest relationship when I was younger. It is what it is. I'm not going to get into details. However, the only reason why we have the relationship that we have now was because I set very clear boundaries on what topics we were allowed to discuss with each other and what was off limits.
Right.
Okay. And I had to do it because here's the thing. A lot of people, because they're related to you, because they're family, or because they've been your friend for 47,000 years, they feel like they have almost like a right to get in your face and talk to you about whatever they feel like it. And you just got to sit and take it. And that is not okay.
Right.
I was 19 years old when I came up with this idea to my mom. And I was like, if we want our relationship to be healthy as mother and daughter, as friends, as whatever, this is what needs to happen. We don't talk about my money. Because
your what?
My money.
Oh, you said that too. Too fast. My money.
My money. Don't talk about my monies. You know why? Because it does end up being that it becomes this almost like, well, I'm just concerned. Why are you spending this when you're doing that? Listen.
Don't worry about my financial situation.
Yeah. If I'm not asking you for help to pay my bills,
mind your
don't
business.
Talk about
mind your business. Mind your
well,
business.
I ain't gonna say like that because that was my mama. Mama
know,
Joy, I love you, Mama Joy.
Mama Joy. Mama Joy.
I love you,
We
Mama
ain't
Joy.
talking about you, Mama Joy.
Don't talk about my weight, and I'll tell you why. The body positive person that I am right now took me a very long time to get here. And there is so much negative connotation that comes with body weight and health, and it's just off limits. Don't talk to me about it. There's no need to. There's nothing positive that can come out of someone telling me, you look like you gained a little weight when you're eating the donuts too much. You know, like, don't worry about it. That's none of your business.
None.
I shouldn't have to feel guilty for eating, a piece of chocolate in front of you. Just off limits. And my relationships, who I choose to be with, which right now is the same person for the last 9 years anyway.
Hello.
But who I chose to be with at that time, or my past relationships or my decisions is my problem. Mm-hmm. And let me tell you, ever since I created those very clear boundaries, my mom and I have had phenomenal relationship. Mm-hmm. I can't even remember the last time that we had an argument in my adulthood, honestly, and that needs to, and it's something that people need to not be afraid to do. Yes. Right? Your family does not have that right. Mm-hmm. Your person that has been in your life for,
10,000. Yeah. Or even if yesterday.
They don't have that right to question why you have those boundaries. These are my rules. This is what's going to keep our relationship healthy.
That's it.
And that's it.
And understand that those rules are not just for them, but they're for you as well. This is how we keep ourselves in check. Without these moments. And one thing that I was always afraid of, and I know that maybe many of you watching this may be feeling the same. If I set this boundaries for so-and-so person, will they still love me? Will they still care about me? Will they still be there at the end of the day? Or will they take offense to what it is that I'm trying to do for myself? And you know what? If they really do love you, and if they really do care about you, and if they really do want to develop that friendship, that relationship, that bond, no, they're not going to get upset. And then that's the person for you.
Absolutely.
And if they don't, bye. That's just how it has to be sometimes. And that's okay. Right?
Absolutely.
So we really hope that we put things into perspective for y'all, because we got a fresh perspective of ourselves, of each other. There's so much that we learned about one another in Florida. There's so much that we've learned just within those past 48 hours about ourselves, myself included particularly. And I do want to thank, did we thank Mama Joy? I feel like we need to really thank Mama Joy. Seriously. Mama Joy, I know that you're watching. Thank you so much, for just embracing us into your home and helping us with everything, both on a transportation level and on an intimate personal level. It was just an amazing trip that we needed to have. We needed to go away and to discover ourselves. So I encourage all of you too, if you guys are struggling with something, maybe a trip, maybe a fresh perspective, a new start somewhere for a moment may help. It really might.
So, or just get out of your cave. Listen, people want to go turn into hermit crabs and cuddle up into a blanket burrito and go into their rooms and say goodbye to the world. Like, no. Go out and see something. Do something good for yourself.
And later on, I'm not going to give it a day or time because editing is time consuming. But we do have a video that we want to put out of a montage of all the videos that we took, because we did vlog while we were out there. We did do reviews of certain foods that we even ate that were amazing.
It was bomb. It was fire. I gotta say.
And I know we didn't get into all of that because of how intense this episode kind of was.
And that's okay.
But that's cool too. And you'll have to just stay tuned and tune in, and we'll drop some more stuff during the week. But I do want to shout out quite a few people who made our trip very memorable. And that, of course, again, is Mama Joy. See Mama Joy?
Hi,
look at us. That
Joy.
was a selfie in the car. That was a lot of fun. And I also want to give a huge shout out to my family, who I got to surprise over there as well. My aunt, my uncle, my dad, who's right there up with me in the front. It was just amazing to be able to see them. Also, big shout outs to my brother, who I got to see there too. It was an amazing time. And it's always good to be around people who love and support you unconditionally, man. I can't even begin to stress to you how important that is. But this is my favorite photo almost of the whole trip.
Oh.
Qué linda.
Ay, Dito.
Hola, mama.
That's Mama Joy, y'all.
Yes. So we just had an amazing time. And also big shout outs to Santana and Lori.
They were so pleasant.
La Chonera El Coqui. We went over there to try their tower. It was amazing. They're
Trifongo.
You know I'm always like forgetting how to pronounce
their
stuff. You know what I mean?
Tower.
Their Trifongo Tower, which looked like that. It was amazeballs.
It really was.
Seriously,
that is the only proper way to describe this food.
I'm telling you, it was arroz con gandules, plátano maduro, yuca, tostones, pernil, cuerito on the top stuff to garnish. It was just amazing. The mojo was awesome. We're gonna show you guys a review of the video and all that stuff later on this week. However, what else do we have to show you? And then the drink, of course. We got our drink on too, a little bit, girl.
Hey.
Little bit.
Specially made.
Right? That was specially made. So I want to thank all of those people who made our trip
fantastic.
Memorable.
Yes.
Memorable
Fantastic.
and fantastic. And I also want to thank you for encouraging me and for sending the screenshot of the tickets. Adri was like, listen, girl.
Come with me.
These tickets right here is only about some. And you have some. So let's go on this 2-day trip. And I thought she was crazy. I'm like, I don't want to go.
It was like 2 weeks before the trip, too.
But you know what? We did it. We had an amazing time. And we thank you guys so much for tuning in every week to us, and the numbers from last week's episode were cray.
They were made possible by you, so we do want to thank you so much for that.
Thank you so much, and for sharing the video. Please share this video if you feel inclined, which I hope you do. Follow us on Facebook, La Cocina Podcast. Follow us on YouTube, La Cocina. Check us out on Instagram, La Cocina Podcast. Here we go. Boom, right?
La Cocina Podcast, everything.
That's it. Boom. And then, of course, you can follow us individually. La Gordita Linda.
_
La Gordita with the R, not the L.
Yes. La Gordita Linda.
_. And then, of course, you can follow me, yours truly, at I am Danny Ray. And
she's Danny Ray.
Yeah, me. That's me. So we thank you guys so much again for everything. We love y'all. And as always, have a
good night.